going to regret this.
Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Hi, this is Nick Anastasiou, story editor on Star Wars The Clone Wars and Star Wars Bad Batch. And you are listening to Aggressive Negotiations.
That's right. Welcome back to Aggressive Negotiations, the Star Wars podcast that prides itself on its ability to go out and dive deep into the galactic core for the heaviest, the densest, the most intricate reads of the Star Wars galaxy. I'm John Mills. Joining me, as always, is Jedi Master Matthew Rushing. Matt, are you prepared to go past the great barrier of Star Wars exploration and discover what lies at the center of the Star Wars galaxy with me today?
John, I absolutely am. I'm so excited to do this. I think it's going to be fantastic, and I hope everybody is buckled up because we have a fantastic episode for all of them, especially as we visit that little island in the sun that I just can't get enough of.
That's right. We're talking about Pabu, and that is the name of the episode of The Bad Batch Season 2 that we're looking at. And where you can find us as we travel over to Pabu is you can find us online at the Jedi Masters over on Twitter X, and you can find the network at Joy Nerd Party and the Nerd Party on Facebook and Instagram. And Matt, I want to tell you that the first time I ever encountered Pabu, when Season 2 of The Bad Batch aired for the first time, I had conflicting emotions about the episode because I loved so much of it. But I'm just going to tear the Band-Aid off here and say, even this time watching it, this felt to me like something that needed to be a two-parter that was instead of one singular episode. I know that my feelings ameliorated over time, but this is an episode where maybe this is a compliment of some sorts, where I wished I'd had more time to get to know Pabu before we were on to the next adventure and before we were at the end of this one. Did you share that reaction?
I think that's a really interesting reaction, and honestly, we haven't really talked about this episode much, since it originally came out, and didn't talk about our feelings beforehand. And I can see what you're saying, because it does feel like, it's not only the introduction of this new place, right? But I think it's the introduction of and the culmination of some of the themes that we've been playing with the character of Omega this whole season, which is she knows how to be a good soldier. She doesn't know how to be a good child. And this gives her that opportunity and opens up the door here for our characters to possibly stop running and just start living. And which is something that none of them know how to do. I mean, and I think that's the thing where I could see this being a two-parter. So not only did we get to fully dive into and plumb the depths of that thematic element, but that it would give us just more time in Pabu with its people, getting to know its culture, maybe a little bit more about the planet it's on, all that kind of stuff, to really kind of root you here in a way that I if there's any criticism, it just feels like the episode is so fast. I don't really get the opportunity I want to be rooted here.
And it starts off with a tremendous nod to Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, with a scene very evocative of the exchange of the ashes of Nurhachi, but of course with its own Bad Batch twist to it. And a great action scene kicks it off, and then the need to go off. We have a very foreboding message from Sid, and then the team goes off and we get to Pabu, and we have so many great moments. Again, like you said, it feels fast because I get Wrecker feeling full for the first time in his life. I love that scene where he's sitting there just chowing down on sushi, and he's like, he feels the need to tell Hunter,
Yeah.
I feel full, right? It's a joyous moment for him. I'm not hungry anymore. And we get Omega getting to be a kid. I think that the thing that I really wanted it to go into a second episode for was to have a first episode where we had tremors, and then the next episode we could have the tsunami. I think that's the reason it feels crunched to me, is it feels like the tsunami thing is something that could have been teased out as a possibility instead of having it happen immediately, because it takes, I think, what's an arc of the batch getting settled and makes them too okay with the whole earthquake and tsunami thing in terms of them learning to let go and let Omega be a kid. Because Hunter doesn't have very much time in this episode to get relaxed enough to say, what's a little tsunami risk? Yeah, we're going to stay here for a while. I would have rather had them decide to stay there for a while, the tsunami happen, and then, like tsunami happen in the next episode, and them say, no, it's still worth it. This is a once in a 3 decades sort of thing. It's still safer. It's still better. It's still worth it. And while it sounds like I'm being overly critical of the episode, it really is something where that is the only thing I can come at it for, is the fact that I wanted more of it. So in a sense, I don't see that as a criticism so much as being a spoiled fan, I guess you could say, where I'm enjoying what's going on so much I want more of it. And so I think that you're then left in an interesting box, because you have the end of The Outpost where you have Crosshair on Tantus and you have this setup. So maybe, let me bounce this off you. Maybe it's a wise decision, because I would have been cranky and impatient to get back to Tantus. And so putting this over 2 episodes would have been the worst of 2. Like, we chose the lesser of 2 evils by crunching things in as opposed to stretching it out.
I think that what you just said is probably the reason that it's not 2 episodes. And part of that is because, after this episode, there's only 3 more episodes left in the season. And what I think, one, I've got to call out the fact that there is a great Raiders of the Lost Ark sense to this episode, where, remember when they go to Cairo and they're on top of the house with Sulla, and they are feeling it, right? They are feeling, Indy is feeling what it would be like to have a family with Marion, to experience what Sulla experiences with his family, right? And so we have that scene here, right? They're on top of the terrace. They're looking out of this incredible place. They're sensing what it could be like to be here for a while and live life and enjoy a part of life that they've never experienced before. So I really like that. But I think, to me, the thing that this episode is probably meant to do the most for us is to remind us of what is being lost in the Empire, what is being lost by them slowly taking over the galaxy. And there were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of planets like this, where people got to just live their lives and do their thing. And the threat of the Empire now to come and then ruin this place because the Bad Batch has arrived will now hang over this luscious, beautiful, almost Eden-like island.
And that's sort of the thing, is like, again, I'm being a spoiled fan. I almost wonder now, as we're talking about it, maybe 2 episodes I would have had that sense of like, okay, it's time to move on. But we know now, I have the vantage point of knowing this is going to become something of a base for them. And so we don't need to spend as much time here, because every other place we've hit has sort of been, I go there, I leave. I go there, I leave. I go there, I leave. And this one has more of a sense of, I've come here, I'm staying. There's no need for me to wrap anything up. Let's leave this open-ended. In terms of the lifestyle, this is where I will heap a lot of praise on this episode, is I felt like Pabu was a place that really existed, that it could exist. And I felt like there was something being conveyed in this episode of a lifestyle I have always wished I could have experienced, but never did. That it felt like a very, what I would understand to be a very sort of Mediterranean town feel, and one that, I grew up in more of a Luke Skywalker sort of sense in the middle of nowhere with a loving family that I felt like I needed to escape from, even though I didn't realize how good I had it, sort of thing. And instead, like you said, it's that scene where Indy and Marion see Saleh and his family in Cairo, and it's this beautiful culture in this beautiful town where it's like, I'm not from here, but I feel like I could be here, like I could live here. So yeah, I mean, in that sense, it's remarkable that Pabu feels like a really realized place where the show is telling me about some place I'd want to be, as opposed to some place I'd want to study from a distance, sort of thing, like Ord Mantell or any of those other places we've been to. This is a place where it's like, I feel like this is a fully realized culture that's happening here, to your point. This is an actual culture that exists and makes sense to me.
Well, and the beauty of this too is and we have it explained to us that this is a place that people have kind of just found themselves, and it's a sanctuary in many ways for people. Even it seems like before the Empire, we're kind of trying to find a way to get away from it all and to create not a commune type of place, but they've created a society based off of mutual respect of one another. They seem to have, a well-run government with the mayor there, and everybody, they have a shared sense of values that allows this place to be what it is. It's almost I would say a microcosm of what the Republic was meant to be. And they've found a way to do that here. And again, I think it's one of those things where when we think then about the fact that this could be lost if the Empire finds it, that's the thing that's terrifying. I feel the same way about this place that I do about, the Empire ruining some place like Naboo. That just incredibly gorgeous, has so much to offer the galaxy, and the Empire just coming in and ruining it all for everyone is a terrifying thought.
Or even a place like Bespin.
Yeah,
because
there you
Lando
go.
believes they're all, Lando believed they were all safe because they're too small.
Yeah.
What's the Empire care about this? Who cares? It's no big deal. And just like Bespin, it's this group of people that the Empire wants is what's going to draw the Empire there eventually. It doesn't happen this season, but, look, by the time everybody's hearing this, I hope they've been watching The Bad Batch, but in your heart of hearts, wherever the batch goes, the Empire is going to find them. And so there's this sense of foreboding of, the Empire doesn't care about us. We're tiny. We don't really have any resources they want. But you do have something they want now in Omega and the Batch. They want them. You now have something the Empire wants, and the Empire only knows how to deal with places having something it wants in one way, and that's taking it by force. We saw that with the Zillo Beast. That little settlement that the Zillo Beast got loose in, that's what could happen to this place. We've seen now in Metamorphosis what's going to happen if the Empire ever finds out that their quarry is here. And it's not going to be pretty. And it's something to be feared and something that's terrible. And yeah, so, again, I know I came at it it seemed like I was coming at it from a really negative place at first, but it is really something that I struggle with because I both understand why we couldn't spend a lot of time here in this first introduction to it. But I guess it's a huge compliment that I wanted to spend more time here with it. And frankly, let me go ahead and ask the question. Of all of the places we've seen in Star Wars, and we've seen many, we've seen ice planets, we've seen desert planets, we've seen paradisical planets like Naboo, which has both beautiful high plateaus and vistas, and also swamps and underwater cultures and all of these sorts of things. Where do you put Pabu? Is Pabu a place, after you watch this episode, is Pabu a place you would want to live in the Star Wars galaxy? Or like on the places where you could live, where would you put it? Is it in like top third, middle third, bottom third? Obviously it's not bottom third, but where would you rank it?
Yeah, I would say this is probably like middle third. It's just clearly a place.
Really? Middle?
Yeah, I think, a part of that is that there's so many places in the Star Wars galaxy that I would want to live. But I say that when I think like middle third, I'm thinking like top third is like 3 places, so like this could be like top middle third, like it's very, it just seems like such a wonderfully idyllic place. The weather seems to be great there. It seems to be pretty temperate. It just seems like a nice place where what it feels like is very Mediterranean. And so,
yeah, exactly.
Because of that, yeah, who wouldn't kind of want to be there?
Well, there are only a couple of strikes against choosing it as a place to live for me, which is one, I haven't seen their fermentation, ideals yet.
It's true.
I need to know what they do for things. When you want something to take the edge off, sort of thing. Although probably all of these people are very relaxed to begin with. But also, the cuisine might be great, but it really seems limited to fish overall. And so either you're all in for fish, and hopefully not allergic, or you're not, sort of thing. Like, I don't know how much variety there is. And if you've been traveling the galaxy, your palate probably is such that, like, by the third rotation, you're like, I could really go for a steak right now. I could go for some bantha. And there doesn't seem to be a lot of interplanetary stuff. But I can't lie, Pabu is a place where it speaks to that grew up in the middle of nowhere kid that I am.
Yeah, I can hear that. Yeah, I can totally see that.
Nobody can bug you. Nobody's going to talk. Like, nobody's going to like, you're just out there. And it's like, you live your life and you leave everybody else alone and they leave you alone, but you respect each other so that when you do interact, it's pleasant. You know each other. Yeah. It's cool. There's no strangers here, sort of thing. So I don't know. But, all of that said, we know that Pabu is going to become the place that they are living from here on out. And did you get that sense, the final question sort of thing, did you fully have that sense at the end of this first episode, the first time you watched it? Were you like, oh yeah, Pabu, this is it. This is where they're going to be.
I did expect this, especially since they decided to stay. I did expect this to be a thing that would come back and be important for the Bad Batch. And I think because it's a place that fits the themes that we've been playing with these characters and with especially the character of Omega. And so absolutely, this was a place that I figured we were going to be seeing more of.
I'm glad that we're going to spend more time with Pabu. I think that's probably why over time I became more okay with this being just a sort of singular introduction episode like this, is because I do get that more time on Pabu. I do get more of a sense of belonging in place. And so it's cool. That works. And so Pabu is a place that I love. And something else that I love is interacting with you online. So why don't you tell people where they can find you?
Well, all those places you could find me online, those social media hives of scum and villainy. So you must be cautious. But you can find me as MattRushing02 on those platforms. You can also find me here on the network with Owlpost, talking about every single chapter of the Harry Potter series, one chapter at a time. I'm on the TFM network with a few shows. One is called The 602 Club. John's a frequent guest over there. So we talk about all of the franchises we love outside of Star Trek. And then you can find me with a bunch of Star Trek talk on The Orb, Warp 5, The Artificial Tango, Saddle Up, and sometimes Literary Treks. But John, if people want to see, maybe what's happening in your world, where would they be able to follow you?
Well, you can find me as Kessel Junkie out there on those wretched hives of scum and online villainy that Matt mentioned. And you can find me right here on the network co-hosting a show called House Lights, which is a director podcast where, we talk about movies, which is, like I've said before, breaking new ground with that one. But speaking of breaking new ground, I have decided to open a timeshare on Pabu, and Jedi Master Matthew Rushing, you have signed up for my first pitch back at the Jedi Temple, so I think it's time to close these negotiations.
How long is this going to take? Negotiations.
90 rotations. It will take 90 rotations.
Negotiations are closed.
That's what you think.
Join the revolution. Join the Nerd Party.